Hi, this is Mariah Gullo from The Hollywood Reporter, and I'm here with Lisa Kudrow, Dan Bucatinsky, and this is Meet Your Emmy Nominees. And these are the executive producers of Who Do You Think You Are? So, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thanks.
Thanks for
You're
having
also
us.
Emmy winners.
Yeah.
We are.
How does it
Last
feel to be
year.
nominated again? And, does the excitement ever go away, or?
Oh, it never goes away. Never. And I think the nomination really is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, winning's good too if you vote. But but this is our fourth nomination, which is great because it is a good show, and we get to keep doing it. I mean, it's the most fun thing to produce, and we're doing more right now. So we're in production for more, and we're always
That's
thrilled.
exciting.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, it's so exciting. The nomination every time, and this is our third time for the series, in structured reality show. And when we first were talking to Alex Graham, who created Who Do You Think You Are, about bringing it to an American audience, because it had been in the UK for many seasons, there was a big question about whether a show like this, about history, about genealogy, could stick.
Right.
And, Lisa and I pinch ourselves that we've been doing this for several seasons, and when it gets any kind of acknowledgement like this, it's such an exciting thing, because it proves that we are telling stories that do resonate, and it's thrilling. It's thrilling.
And we weren't wrong. Americans are smart enough to like the show.
That's right.
Do you think that Americans know a lot about their histories?
Some do and some don't. I mean, I actually meet a lot of people who say, I love your show. So, what about your family? I know nothing.
Yeah.
They know nothing about their families, but they want to, and they just don't even know where to start, even though they watch an episode and they can see exactly how to
you
start.
start to see, as you watch the episode, you start to see that there are websites you can go to,
Right.
and you can kind of do your own research.
You realize
It's
at the
fun.
beginnings of almost all of our research, Ancestry certainly helps us, but it all starts with birth records and marriage records and death records. Like, these are things that are accessible to you, and they're your sort of gateway to find out, if that's when they came over, then I can go a step further. But I think a lot of people rely on oral history. And sometimes it's right, and as we learn on a lot of the stuff that we do on our show, a lot of times what you've been told or what's been passed down got changed in the game of telephone of time.
Yeah.
And it's another fun thing is to sort of look and see if the things that you'd been told are even true.
Right. I'm really fascinated by how many times they use the census to find out information about people.
Yeah, that's got a lot of good information about people.
Yeah. Not just who your siblings are, but also
Depending on the year,
occupations.
occupation, and whether you rent or own, and you can see how your ancestors were doing, and what year they immigrated is on there too, and where they were born sometimes is on there too, and where their parents were born. So you get a lot of really important information.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to
Census.
watch, people who immigrated to the United States are teaching their kids how to read. You see as the generations, you see how some families, are bringing, literacy to their children,
Right.
and progress. And then it's also fun to see how things don't change.
Right.
You have the example of Liv Tyler in your last season, discovering that her family has been doing the same thing for generations and generations.
Oh, right, yeah. She found out that she was looking at her father, Steven Tyler's side, and, I don't think I was aware that Steven Tyler started off as a drummer, and she goes all the way back to, the colonial times, I think, or right after the Revolution. And that first ancestor she found on his line had been a drummer in the military,
So
and then
crazy.
his son was a drummer in the military.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh!
I mean,
it's really something.
You can think that they're coincidences, but they really make you wonder. You're several generations forward, and you find these little moments that connect you to who somebody was 200 years ago, which is what's so exciting about the show.
Yeah.
The surprises like that.
Yeah. Now, Lisa, you in the first season you looked into your own family history. Dan, have you ever looked into your family history?
I haven't really.
No,
I haven't
we're waiting.
really.
We're asking him not to.
Oh, really?
For us to do an episode.
As a producer of the show, I'm waiting for myself to get famous enough to approve my own name as a possible. I've never really worn this
I think
many
you're
hats,
there.
but I'm looking
You're
to
there.
approve myself as one of the possible, but I always find better. No, I haven't looked, just in case that one of these seasons we dig into my own family, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. How eager are your subjects to really get into it? Do you have some trepidation from some of the people, or is everybody just fully on board when you speak to them?
Oh, everyone's fully on board when
Yeah.
we speak to
Yeah.
them. Otherwise,
Otherwise,
they
they're
wouldn't
not
be
even in.
signing up for it, you
Yeah.
know. But I think everybody does get a little nervous. And what was really funny to me is Courtney, the thing she was the most nervous about was that, it's just going to be boring. What if it's just boring? What if my family's really boring? It was like the opposite of boring.
I know.
And it was so funny when we were shooting her initial interview, and she was saying, I hope, we did good things, but I'll find out anything. I hope nobody was a murderer, or I hope no one killed anybody. And then it's like, well, because I knew what was coming. And oh my God, only the first, regicide, the killing of the King of England, the first time
Amazing.
the King of England.
Her
had been
ancestor
killed.
was a kingslayer.
Correct.
King's ancestors.
Ancestors,
And then as
multiple.
you go into it, everyone involved in the conspiracy,
It was
she
straight
was
out of
related
Game of
to them,
Thrones.
including the king's father. She's
The-
related to everyone.
The killers and the
royalty.
king, 18 generations back, the 18th great-grandfather, Edward II, and then back to Edward I. Those don't happen very often on
Yeah.
our show, and it was just amazing.
Amazing.
Especially because she was worried about that. It's a common worry. People are like, what if you don't find anything? It's like, well, we wouldn't be taking you on a journey if we didn't find anything.
Right.
And it's interesting, the level of interest sometimes is either really focused, I want to know if I am in fact related to so-and-so, because that's what my grandfather told me.
Right.
Or it's like, whatever you find, I'm fascinated.
Yeah.
Just wide open curiosity, which is so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Jessica Biel too. She was like, I love the show and I'm excited to do it.
Yeah.
Whatever you find, woohoo. And she didn't know that on her father's side, Biel, she thought that was the name of a German town, and it's not. It's the name of Hungarian Jews, and
Wow.
she had no idea. And then on the other side, it's this really fascinating to me history of what it was to be in Missouri during the Civil War, where you were sort of you had both sides bullying each other basically, to fight for both sides, and you're just caught in the middle, and it was tragic. It was that was really tough, I thought.
It's also amazing that on our show, sometimes you're telling a story that goes as far, several hundred years, or 18 generations back in the case of Courtney, or in the case of Jennifer, right? 18.
Yeah,
It's
20.
crazy.
Yeah.
That just, and then in the case of Jennifer Gray, who remembered her grandfather, right? It's a very close story because she remembered her grandfather. She remembered a particular sadness that he had and never really understood it. And we were able to go back just far back enough, just 2 generations back or 3, to sort of understand how he lost his mother and to answer some of the mysteries that she had always wondered about a man that she had a relationship with.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a very close story, and sometimes it's a story that takes you far back.
Yeah.
And it just depends on what documents we find and where the narrative is.
Yeah, there was some controversy on a PBS show with Ben Affleck where they were having trouble with. He had some trouble coming to terms with what he discovered. Has anyone had a hard time just kind of coming to terms with their family? It seems like.
Well, first of all, yes and no.
Yeah.
But they process it there.
Right.
And but also, we ask people, are you prepared for whatever we find? So they know that it could be something that they will have to just work with morally. And of course, we're not responsible for what our ancestors did.
Right.
But and it's always good to the thing is that stuff does enlighten us all about what our history is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we've had a lot.
The truth is important, I think, no matter what it is.
I do too, and I think a lot of our over the years, a lot of our participants have found themselves questioning and answering and finding really interesting and inspiring answers to all kinds of sort of controversial discoveries that they find. I mean, even something like Julie Bowen, who learned about the American Protective League, which is, a very different kind of discovery, and we don't know that much about. And she realized that one of her relatives was a member of this organization, and she discovered what they did and who they were, and she had questions about it. She had answers about it. She had, again, it's like you're not responsible for what anybody in your past did, but sometimes you can shed light on the context of why at that time in history people were behaving in a particular way.
We also try to show that, human beings are complicated. They're not just good all the time, and they're not just bad because you don't like one thing they did.
Yeah.
And so you have to understand the context, the times they were living in, and personally, I think, if someone's not being extraordinary, you have to forgive them for not being extraordinarily good in the face of what absolutely everybody else is doing in society.
Yeah.
There were stand-up people, but not everybody. Those were extraordinary people.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a family member who was on the Lewis and Clark expedition, who's famous for being a drunk. It was written in the diaries,
Right.
and also for buying his 2 Indian wives.
Oh,
So
really?
I had to come to terms with that.
Right.
It was really inspiring to see how Julie Bowen kind of dealt with her,
Right.
with her family members, and saying, well, that doesn't seem right, but this is what was happening at the time, and wow, I'm so proud of my abolitionist family member.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, history is made up of heroes, villains, victims, people who have had to struggle, people who have had to fight. Some survive wars, some don't. We are obviously all standing based on standing on the shoulders of those who came before us, and some of whom have done great things, and some have been forced to not do great things, and there's a context for all of it. And you have, the thing is, the show illuminates why you're standing where you are, and also makes you illuminate that the moments we're living right now are the history of 100 years from now. So it makes you question every move you make. Like,
Does it? Oh, all right.
It makes me,
not me.
It makes me question.
Judge
like,
away.
We're making No, I don't mean like. It makes you want to make history every day.
It does
I
make me
find it
want to
inspiring.
answer the census as well.
Yes, answer the census.
Yeah.
And careful what you tweet, because those will be the documents that we're uncovering 100 years from now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of shocking to even think about.
Well, it is a record
Yes.
of who you were in that
It's not
moment
too
in
late
time.
to delete.
It's not too late to delete. Or just be thoughtful.
Yes, that is true.
Anyway, I say this in a more global way. It's one of the things I love about the show. It makes you think about history.
Yeah. Oh, do you have any white whales? Are there any celebrities, or are there any historical things that you're just dying to discover?
Wait,
Moments in history.
there are, but what? Guess what? I'm always surprised at the moments in history that we do explore, the details that I never learned in school. We got the broad strokes, but the details to me are the things that are fantastic discoveries that give us just some nuance into what these human beings, it's not just a place in history, but what the human beings were actually having to deal with. What things were they afraid of that we weren't afraid of, that made them, make certain decisions. Yeah, I mean, we did Salem witch trials a couple times.
We
That was
did.
pretty
Underground
cool.
Railroad, the Civil War. And I remember specifically in grade school and in middle school studying all of the battles of the American Revolution. And they just were names. They just were names that we had to memorize. And then you do a show like this where you meet an ancestor whose diaries of the Battle of Yorktown, or somebody who actually fought at a particular battle site that you remember from. And it completely gives it a different context, because there's a real kid there fighting in a real war, and what those conditions were are amazing. So I'm always excited when any tentpole of history is sort of uncovered. Lewis and Clark expedition just happened today. You mentioned it. I don't think that's a thrilling one. To go back to the people who found, were discoverers. That would be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been inspiring to me that Sacagawea was 16 and gave birth on the trail and just went to find the Pacific Ocean, and that's, that'll change your life to have memories like that.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hope you get to do yours soon.
I hope so. I have a feeling that the Irish potato famine will not be part of my story.
No.
But according to my DNA test, I'm 3% Irish. So there is a 3% chance that I was impacted by
Right.
it.
Do you like French fries?
I do, a lot. So I
there
think
you
that
go.
might be my Irish side.
Did you have a particularly challenging episode from this past season? Did any of them challenge you, or?
The producing of? Gosh.
I mean, was it just discovering the order that you were going to put the episodes in, the most challenging part?
That wasn't that challenging because it was, easy to decide Courtney would be the first one.
Right.
Because it was such an extraordinary story. And she also just sort of dealt with it. It flowed really easily, She seemed excited to learn everything. But the research is always really challenging, where they hit dead ends and you think, oh shoot, we can't explore that any further. And like with Courtney, I think we'd been working on it for years, to be honest. And then all of a sudden they pushed through this gateway ancestor. 'Cause
Wow.
sometimes it takes a while to confirm that someone you're hoping is actually an ancestor is an ancestor, and pushes you back. And that's when this whole door opened up to these hundreds of years ago this family that was so powerful, that was Courtney. So we do have those issues.
The challenges are always in the research, I think. It's like you get a little nugget of something and it's not quite enough to tell the whole story.
Yeah.
And you just have to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. And we get the help of genealogists and historians and people who search for more corroborative evidence. And it's always sort of the fun of it, but also, it's like uncovering any mystery.
Yeah, it is.
It takes time.
It feels like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. The way it's put together, it feels so effortless.
Yeah.
But
Right.
It's not.
would make sense that there's a ton of research that's going into
And you want to make sure
these
that this
mysteries that you're unlocking.
And you want to make sure the subject doesn't know any of it either. Well, once in a while,
Right.
we'll come up with somebody who, you find a bunch of details and you realize, oh, they had heard some of that already. Now, how do we go further and really uncover something that's new for them? And that's a challenge of the show as well.
Right. Okay, so I also wanted to talk to you about web therapy because it's getting a new life in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a new name.
Yes. What is the name?
Hang-ups.
Hang-ups. Do you have any advice for Stephen Mangan?
Do I have any advice?
Yeah.
We talked to him for a while about, what to do. We just, mostly it was technical advice. I don't think I have anything like just a clever line to say, other than, I think he's already ahead in that, he's really great.
Yeah.
Who knows, maybe with a man, That's sort of my joke, though, that a man's doing it in the UK and then it'll be really successful. Come back here and I'll have to audition for it.
To play.
I was going to say, would either of you consider guest starring in the new show?
Oh,
Sure.
Of course. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's exciting
yeah.
for us. And the web therapy.
And it's good. We saw.
Yeah.
We saw what they were working on, and it's really good.
Their pilot's really
yeah,
funny.
it's really good.
They've taken what we've done and they've made it sort of their own. And the same happened in Spain. The same happened in Poland. There's versions of web therapy that local, but the talent of that country have made their own, and it's thrilling for us to watch.
Impressive talent too.
Yeah,
By the way.
really good people.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's
Yeah,
exciting.
that's thrilling, and now Stephen Mangan. That's really thrilling.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I let you guys go, I have some rapid fire questions.
Okay, I
First,
won't be able
best,
to do that.
last, worst. Well, it's not. They're just short lines.
I don't have a rapid fire brain. Yeah.
First acting job that made you think, I've made it, even if you haven't. But the first I've made it job.
Oh, Backer's audition for a play. That was my first audition, and I got it. Like, I got it! I did it! I can do this! Yay! To be in a Backer's audition. One performance.
How'd it go?
Great! We did the play, and I got to be in it.
Amazing.
And look at you now. It really was.
Well, it was Romy and Michelle, so it was good.
Oh, that's good. Every audition I ever had that I got, I was like, all right, this is it. It's my ticket.
Yeah.
And not one of them was my ticket. I was a ballet on the Wonder Years, and I was like, wow, it's just a matter of time before a spinoff. And it didn't happen. So, but Yeah, that was one. When I first came out to Los Angeles, the first television job I got was on the Wonder Years, and that was a little moment of like, but it took a while
Yeah.
before that momentum kicked in.
Yeah. Best story you have while producing Who Do You Think You Are? The best.
Oh, well, I was producing and participating in my own episode. That was the first one we shot
Amazing.
while we were learning how to do it. And
Wow.
I was, carrying C-stands around Eastern Europe. And also just like flying to Belarus. And on the plane they announced, about customs and please, you have to claim, right? You have to claim agricultural goods, all that stuff,
Yeah.
and any radioactive materials you might be bringing into the country. And it's like, what?
Oh, wow.
Who on the plane has that? Where
Show
am
of
I?
hands, any of you.
What's that?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I said, oh my God.
You put your life in danger to do our
That's
show.
how,
I
and
appreciate
yeah,
it.
and me with traveling already, so.
I have nothing as glamorous as that, but
Glamorous as radioactive materials,
no.
because that's pretty glamorous.
I don't, but I did when the show was still on NBC. I traveled with Gwyneth to Barbados because she had a part of her family on her mom's side had gone through Barbados, which was a fascinating story, and that was a real experience. It felt like I was on the journey with her, and uncovering things and certain emotional moments, and a lot of that was really thrilling to experience. So that was a highlight for me.
Excellent. Last time a fan interaction made you smile or cringe?
Oh, just downstairs.
At the Coffee Bean?
Yeah, she made me smile.
Aw.
Yeah, she got flustered and couldn't remember my order and tried not to, make me pay. But I
Oh.
did. Put it in the tip jar. Yeah, that made me smile. She was so sweet. Yeah.
Worst audition experience?
Oh my gosh. Okay, seriously. Gary Shandling for Larry Sanders
Uh-huh.
when I was auditioning. And I don't know what I said or did. I guess I thought I was being funny. But he started looking at me like he was scared. And then it was done. And it was, so we'll get in touch with you. I went, okay. And I left. And I hear the door open. I turn around and he's just peeking out. He's like, oh no, we will, I promise, we'll get in touch with you. And I was like, what happened? Okay, what happened? Like, what just happened? I was so horrified because I love him so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to be even in the same room
Yeah.
with him, and somehow, and honestly, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
Did they get in touch with you?
No.
We'll get in touch with you. Sounds like either security is going to carry you out of the
It
building.
Yeah.
felt like, and
It
so I
sounded
couldn't
like-
tell if he was doing a bit, and I missed
Yeah.
an opportunity to play along, which is possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'd met him, and I didn't bring it up.
Ugh, that's so mysterious.
Yeah, it's too bad. But it was horrifying that I was so excited, and then it felt like, they wanted to call security. I don't know what I said. I think I thought I was being funny, and it just maybe didn't land. Yeah. But
Oh my God, there's so many. I can't even pick one. When I first started, I had the lack of good taste to go on this Japanese Coca-Cola commercial, and they wanted dancers, and I'm not a dancer. And I stood in a room with 40 dancers who were taught a dance in about 10 seconds.
Oh.
And they said 5, 6, 7, 8 in Japanese,
Oh, no.
and everybody started dancing, and I stood there in the middle of this room of people dancing all around me, and I pretended that I was, and I hoped that they didn't notice I wasn't there. But let me tell you, nothing is more conspicuous than one non-Japanese person standing still around people leaping over and around them. Needless to say, I wasn't in that commercial.
oh no,
It was horrible, horrible. I was like,
that's not fair.
well, I'm in the wrong business, clearly.
Just because you can't dance for a dancing commercial.
I know, it doesn't seem
That's
fair.
not fair.
No, I mean, I'm funny. Like, why can't they use something else?
If you want it, you should get it.
I think so.
I think so too.
If I had visualized it, I might have been able to
I mean,
get
you
that.
had moxie,
I did have.
right? That's the most important thing.
That's one word
Or
for
that
it.
might make people scared of you
Right.
too.
That's what
But the needed skill, the required skill, turns out it's important too.
note to self. Know how to do what they're looking for.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories
Thank
with us.
you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Show us Who Do You Think You Are on TLC.